Hey, Howard here at 82 Maple, and we're pausing just a moment this morning to welcome back the 5103 that we inherited with this little property in Kelowna. It's 2008 vintage, and doing a little bit of homework, I discovered that it has not been into the John Deere shop since the day it was purchased. That speaks a ton to what kind of a beast this is. It also concerned me a little because I don't know what might be rolling around in the transmission, the bearings, or anything else. So I took it into the dealership a couple of weeks back, said no hurry, just left it with them, and do some oil samples and analysis, and let's see what's going on. It came back about $1,200 later, taxes included, but we had done oil changes front to back, oil analysis front to back, discovered something really interesting over here. Right in here, we're gonna see there's a little fuel filter and water separator. Don't know if the water was ever drained regularly as instructed. But what we do know is that the factory install of that filter has some very unique markings, and that filter had not been changed in what is now 13 years. Still chugging along perfectly, engine checked out okay. Doesn't have a lot of hours on it. I think it's about 1,200 hours. And it also came back sporting a new post hole auger. You probably seen a little feature video I did on the one-person portable post hole auger. Well, we've got a lot of posts to put in over here. We've got a lot of fences to repair over the next while. And some of those fences are going to be up on this hillside behind us. And I'd mentioned a couple of times, I think in prior videos, that there's some slopes in there about 30 degrees. And moving that portable auger around isn't an option. And as attractive as it would be to purchase one of those, they're not for sale. The local rental company, from what I understand, builds them and rents them out only. So here we are with a new John Deere post hole auger. Anything in John Deere green comes at a premium price. Hey, I have no judgment. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I could have got the actual auger assembly for about 60% of the price from a Western Canadian, I guess Canadian company, Princess Auto. But here was the catch. They had absolutely no auger bits and haven't had for a year. I could have picked up one of 6 post hole augers locally. I think every branch in British Columbia has at least 2 from what I've seen online, but it's a unique auger adapter on those ones. And what good is a post hole auger mechanism without the bit? So I got the very last available in Western Canada John Deere post hole auger and bit. That tells you something about where the supply chain is at these days. Great little tractor. I've described it a bit before. 3-speed transmission, 3-speed transaxle, I'll call it. Just a beast, and it just starts and fires and runs. And so I have just a great deal more comfort going into winter, knowing it's been fully checked out and fully serviced. One little item, and I'm going to throw a time lapse in here. So these forks started exactly 13 minutes ago, angled up about like this. And the time lapse will prove out the angle. And 12 minutes later, it's collapsed to kind of this. So we have a doghouse inside a doghouse there, but the whole thing front to back and sideways would weigh maybe 350 pounds. I know we've got some extra leverage because it's 60 inches long. So let's say it's a 500-pound load midway on the forks. I'm pretty close in that. Say 600, worst case scenario. I took it into John Deere complaining that probably the tilt cylinders needed to be repacked. Now here's a tribute to the local dealership, Prairie Coast. They ran some pressure tests instead of just going, Howard says cylinders need to be repacked. Let's bill them $1,000 for that. They pressure checked it. everything's fine. Everything's within the spec. What came back is that this model, the 5100 series, was the Econo series in this weight of tractor back in the day, and that's completely to be expected. I queried and said, what about the valve up here? Is it possible that that's leaking? And they said the valve is within spec as well, meaning I could hear what you said. Oh, Siri is talking to me. She wants to be part of the conversation. Here, we'll shut her off. Meaning that replacing the valve with a brand new one, repacking or replacing these cylinders with brand new ones spec'd for this machine would not give me any better result. Again, full credit to them. They didn't try and upsell me into something that wasn't going to be a benefit. So here we go, and we're going to move our little pug out of the way, not because we don't love you, Lotsie, but there goes. Hey, and that's it. That's the story of the hydraulics. You know what? I'm doing this for a very specific reason, and it isn't to knock the John Deere product. If it's not red blood flowing through my veins, then it's definitely either John Deere green or Wood Miser Norwood orange. And it's just to point out what really goes on. And maybe you know someone, maybe you've found a cure to this. And here's why it doesn't make me happy. Number one, as a machine operator, I know that when you stop a machine, you never leave it like that. You put the forks down. But we expect a lot of our equipment, and Coral and I have used our little 1025 that's sitting somewhere in the background there, put a safe scaffold on it, raised it to full height, and had painters go around and finish the trim, in fact, on my entire former sawmill shed and wood storage facility. Also, hanging Christmas lights. I remember distinctly this last Christmas standing on the top of a platform, well secured, and then with a 15-foot pole in hand, getting those lights right to the top of the tree at the end of the driveway. That would not have been possible with this machine. That little 1025 would sit forks level for an hour with a load on them. And so I gotta tell you, I'm really mystified. If you have some clues to help solve the mystery, reply below. Hey, it's all a ton of fun. And if we know what we're dealing with, we can adapt accordingly. Hey, here we go. In the interests of science, purely, I decided to just throw a little clip in of the little John Deere 1025, and with it, same set of forks, supporting the identical load under identical conditions, meaning it's parked in the same spot. And the only thing I had to do was move my time-lapse camera to the other side of the load, because we've got sunshine over there, and I tried setting up the time-lapse on the other side, and all you'd have seen was the sun. So I've tried to replicate everything. I went back over the video of the 5103 with this same load on, located at about the same distance out from this from the backside of the forks, from the frame, and there we go. I tried to replicate the angle. There was about 2 inches. If you scroll back, there was about 2 inches of cylinder showing, and there we are. Let's see how long this takes to drop its load. I've got the time lapse running, and again, just for the heck of it, we'll show the timestamp on that. My sense is that the time lapse will be running, if I had to put money on it, an hour from now. and the angle on those forks will not have shifted significantly. Now, I could be wrong, but let's give it a whirl. If you're up for it, I certainly am. There we go. We'll get that sunshine pointed the right direction in this little video, and let's see how this turns out. It's always fun. Well, there we go. 6 minutes short of an hour. It's right on the verge of tipping off. And yeah, it's now 55 minutes. And hey, not bad, all things considered. And hope you've enjoyed this. This wasn't to prove a point. This was just for fun, and to see which hydraulics I can depend on if I need to be painting some soffits over there on the house, or stringing Christmas lights for the always wonderful Coral Dawn. Here's to you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of this experience. And at 82 Maple, it's always about just playing around with stuff, continuous learning, and thanks for sharing the journey.